Hey, welcome into another post-game show on the Heedy Network as we cover your Ducks, the winning Ducks. It's always good to do a show after they get the W. I am Todd Fox joining you live as we're going to dive into the Islanders' victory over, or the Ducks' victory over the Islanders. I am Todd Fox once again, and to my right is Dominic Lorenz from Catella Chronicles. How you doing, my friend?
What's up? How we doing? Finally to get the band back together for this one on a victorious night for our Ducks. Let's go.
Yes, sir. And we were talking a lot off there before we get into everything, how it just our schedules haven't really aligned much because you got your busy schedule on your end, my busy schedule on my end. We actually missed last night's game, which after the loss doesn't feel too bad, but we still have to honor our engagements and we want to do the cover this team win or lose. But just so happened we couldn't get to it last night. But we'll make up for both of these. We'll talk a little bit about last night's loss to Colorado, but we'll focus mainly on the Ducks' big W at home as they continue this long freaking road or homestand. Because Dom, I don't remember the last time the Ducks have played this many games at home.
No, and they talked about it a couple nights ago after the win on Sunday against Calgary that this was the longest homestand for any team in the NHL this season. So the Ducks reaping the benefits on that one. I don't know who they had to, what babies they had to kiss or do whatever they needed to do to get those home games. But
Yeah.
it feels much longer, especially because of the Olympic break. So there was those 2.5 weeks where no games were played. So pretty much whole month of February and this first week and a half of March, the Ducks have gotten to sleep in their own beds, relax, focus on what they needed to focus on. And I think that's really played well into this team. And you've seen it in the style of play in the wins during this homestand. Even though the winning streak was, cut to the wayside last night, funny enough, by the same score, 5-1 as it was tonight in a win. So kind of giveth, taketh away. But it all cycles out to a win at the end of the day.
Yeah, you know what? I got to ask you a question off the bat. With that being said, Colorado, after the Ducks got that surprising win over there, they came back home, Colorado had their opportunity to get back at the Ducks, and they did. They seemed to manhandle them a little bit. But going to your point of being able to sleep in your own bed, not having to travel on a back-to-back night, the Ducks looked more refreshed against the Islanders, and it was night and day, right?
We've seen so far this season, the Ducks have had a little bit of both. They've had a back-to-back at home, like yesterday and today. They've had back-to-backs on the road where they've had to travel. And then, of course, we've seen the home and home kind of flip back-to-back with first one on the road and the second one first one on the road and second one at home. Funny stat to bring you tonight about the sleeping in your own beds and how good it feels. Not just at home, but let's put it into perspective. The second game, so the back end of the back-to-back this year, the Ducks with this win tonight are 5-3-1. So definitely a better mark on the back end of a back-to-back than a front end, because you always know when you get to that halfway portion of that second game, the legs start to get a little noodly. You kind of lose your cool. The IQ goes down. But the Ducks are finding ways to win in I don't want to say the darkest of times, but of the strenuous of times. So to be able to rest on your laurels a little bit, we're playing at Honda Center. I don't have to pick up my bags and get on a plane and go somewhere else. It does, I think, in my opinion, not as a player, but just as a prospective person watching the game, it's got to feel good to just feel like there's no extra worries going around. Everything's in place. Now let's get back home and just rest up for the next game. So I think it definitely plays into the physicality, but also the psyche of the game.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll get into Dimitro's point in a minute because I was going to
Yep.
ask you about that. But to your point, the third period of this game, again, that's where usually the Ducks would get checked on a back to back. That's a great point. But to bring that up again, 2 points of emphasis where the Ducks are much better than they've been over the last few years is these opportunities like this where the schedule makers are against you because of the Olympics and you're having to play a lot more back to backs than you normally would. Number one. And
Yep.
number two, Dom, you know this team better than anybody. They have not fared well over the years, at least recent years, in overtime or even shootouts. And their record, along with the record you just brought up about back to backs, is over 500 and looking very good when they're in overtime. So you combine those two that usually would stunt the growth of this team's success. It's actually working for them this year.
Well, and to that, talk about stealing a point or two away. Like,
Yeah.
we always joke about the pity point and just trying to escape with one. But when you have that sort of a flip, and it boils down to two things: development of your young core and head coaching, right?
Hmm.
We can talk about that all day long. We've been talking about it since game one. I think at the end of the day, when you fare better in the extra session and those back end of the back to backs, or even both games of a back to back, and you find a way to do what other teams can't do, right? What other team in the NHL is perfect in shootouts this year? Nobody. We're 7
Yeah.
0. How many people have, or how many teams are well above 500 in the OT session? Few and far between. That gets you that 1 point here, 1 point there. And I talked about this 2 games ago after the Calgary game. The Ducks have the most wins in the Pacific Division, yet they're in second place because of the pity point rule. Some may like it, some may not, but you have to play towards it. In Vegas, even though when you combine their wins and losses, they'd be under 500, they're still in first place because they're netting at least a point by forcing them and an opposing team to the OT session. So however the point situation breaks down, the Ducks are capitalizing when they need to.
That's absolutely correct. And to get back, we're jumping around because we're going to get into the scoring. We're going to give you your 3 stars by Catella Chronicles in a minute. We're also going to do the hoser of the night. So that's all to come on the show as the Ducks pull off a 5-1 victory. But I do want to address this if I could, Dom, and get your thoughts on it because
Of course.
I was thinking this too, man. Again, the Islanders are sitting there right now at 35. They picked up their 22nd loss of the year. They got 75 points, tied with Pittsburgh, 7 points back of Carolina. But I haven't seen this all year. Maybe I missed a couple games or whatever, but I've seen the Ducks pull their goalie when they're down 2. But
Yeah.
down 3 with 8 minutes left to go, dude. What were you thinking when the Islanders were just like going all for it? Because at that point, I'm like, damn, they must really think they could come back or they really need this tie or win.
To me, that's just desperation, right? You're trying to grasp at anything on the ice. Ever since the Islanders took that 1-0 lead, that the Ducks had pretty much carried the weight the rest of the way. As a coach or as a player, or as a goalie, whatever combination you're looking at, you're trying to find whatever way to break up the opposing team's rhythm. And the Ducks were firing on all cylinders, especially in that late second, early third period where they really took hold of this game. And I think at that point, Patrick Roy, the head coach for the Islanders, is thinking, if I pull my goalie and we're able to scrap for a goal rather quickly and make it a 4-2 game, maybe that'll send a little panic mode in the Ducks. Our team, the Islanders, galvanize and get a little momentum, and then it kind of starts pinballing in that sense. I think at that point, you're down 4-1. You've given up 4 unanswered goals. You're trying to strike gold and find a way to bounce back. I don't condone pulling your goalie with 8 minutes, but when you're already down 3, what else do you really have to lose at that point? Especially, they're on the front end of a back-to-back. They got to go to the Kings tomorrow and then a day off and then San Jose. So maybe they're trying to work and see what they can do with what they have. Who knows? But I think it's just pure desperation and trying to go for the gusto.
Because in my opinion, when it comes, I have to agree with you right there. Because in my opinion, when you're doing that as a coach, you're putting tremendous pressure on your team more than you would think on the other team. The other team, all they have to do is be patient, keep their goalie clean, keep the eyesight clean, and then try to get a puck redirected, get it out of there as quickly as possible. Whereas your guys are not only trying to attack and crash the net, they also got to make sure the puck doesn't escape their, the possession and goes the other way, and they get an odd man rush and an easy score.
Yep.
So yeah, man, again, some of the comments are killing Wah, and you have as well. And I think I'm the same way because man, you're just killing your boys, man. At that point, 4-1, first game of a back-to-back. I think at that point you're like, okay, we'll try to get cute with some plays, innovative in their blues in their side.
Yep.
But I'm not going to push my guys to the extreme on the first night of a night back-to-back.
Well, and especially too, to kind of wrap up that point is the Ducks defensively. Again, it's a 6-on-5 situation. The Ducks didn't look too keen on really pressing to get the Islanders out of the zone. They were willing. They know they had a 3-goal cushion. They played back, but still kept sticks moving. They weren't just staying sedentary and watching the play develop. It was, we're going to stand in our post. We're going to use the stick to our advantage, body position, try to use the small things, and make the Islanders make a mistake. Let them overpass the puck and exit the zone. And then, of course, the Ducks had a couple opportunities to net the empty netter before they did. So, again, it all cycled out the way it was supposed to. But, again, I say this is for the Islanders. It was you're trying to grasp at straws. You have a 0.001% chance at that point. You know, we've seen stranger things happen. 3 goals late in the game to tie it and force overtime. So you're just trying to swing the pendulum of momentum on your side instead of doing what has not worked throughout the game.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about that division right now, I'm looking at the Metropolitan Division. It's really weird division, man.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Carolina is the top notch, and they're 38-16. But you got the Pittsburgh Penguins, which are a decent team, veteran laced. 75 points. Islanders are a good mix, and then Columbus, of all things, they got 70 points. Been playing much better hockey. Washington still hanging in there. That's a veteran squad. Philly is, although 2 points out, I just don't see them making the postseason along with New Jersey, but still an interesting division. They're the only one that's truly out of it is the Rangers. But as far as our division, Dom, before we get into the scoring, Vegas has played 2 more games than we have going into this one tonight, and they're 29-19 with 14 overtime losses, just 1 point, getting that pity point like you were talking about.
Point, baby.
There you go. Add an extra P right there. But they only got a 1 point lead on us, and Edmonton's 3 points behind. This was a huge victory. I know when we looked at this and you were bringing out the homestand, you're like, okay, I can take the loss to Colorado if we do this, this, and that. Well, Dom, they've done this, this, and that. We're getting the point.
Thank you. Hey, how I look at this is I said, was it after the Kraken game before the Olympic break? I want to say it was during that time. I said if the Ducks somehow can get to 70 points before the end of this homestand, which is Sunday, a game I'll be at, I would call that a massive success. Well, they did it 2 games ahead of schedule. And so thank you, Anaheim, for making me look like a genius. And if you get, again, the Ducks did something so amazing in January. After falling on their ass and losing 9 straight games, they fought back, won those 7. What was important about those 7 games? The majority came against divisional rivals. They swept Vegas. They've split the series against Edmonton thus far. They've lost 2 of 3 to Seattle. That's okay. But they took that one right before the Olympic break, which kind of set them in a better direction.
Which was important, yes.
San Jose, we have not seen in a very long time, and we see them in April, I think, multiple times, if not 2, if not 3 times. Then you took 3 out of 4 from the Kings. Great job. You've taken both games against the Calgary Flames. And let's just not talk about Vancouver because those 2 games never existed. You still got to play them 1 or 2 more times. So, fix what you got to fix at that point. But against Vegas, Edmonton, and the Kings, because those are the teams I've seen the most out of this division, they've taken care of business. TCB, baby, taking care of business. And it's working out. And the Ducks have 1 less game on the Golden Knights and the Oilers. Oilers and Golden Knights have played 62 games. We've only played 61. So we have an extra buffer game still in the back pocket. So if the Ducks, whatever that buffer game truly is, they win, currently they'd be above Vegas. So 1 extra game on our side is always helpful.
That's amazing. Seeing where this team started, we're 10 games up. I think if you would have told me at the beginning of the season, what is it, 60 games in we are, or is it 62?
61 as of right now.
All right, 61 games in, only 21 left. That we would be sitting here 10 games above 500, I'd be like, yeah, okay, maybe 10 games under because we're a young team. But this team is so goddamn resilient and fun to watch, man. And speaking of fun to watch, let's get to some goal scoring because you mentioned it and alluded it earlier that the Islanders drew first blood like most teams do against the Ducks, it seems. But Husso said no-so or no-so for the rest of the game. But yeah, let's get into the scoring, my friend.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Ville Husso as we get deeper into this, into the scoring breakdown, and especially, foreshadowing here. He'll be a part of the 3 stars of the game, no doubt about it.
There you go.
That guy hadn't played in a freaking month. and take away the 2 weeks that everybody had for the Olympic break, he
Mhm.
still hadn't played in a freaking month. So for him to come out, and he said it in the post-game show on the bench with Ali Lozov, that when the team's playing good, I know I have to match that intensity regardless if it's my 10th game in a row or my first game in 10 months, whatever the combination is. And he did that exceptionally well. And news and notes, the Ducks do not have Peter Mrazek the rest of the season. He had surgery during the Olympic break. He is done. Husso is your number 2. Mrazek was on a 1-year deal, so his days in Anaheim are probably done after a grand total of 5 or 6 games.
And not
And
good ones at that.
the first 2 weren't great. The next 2 were not as good, but they got wins. So, 50-50 split. Husso is under contract. So the Ducks pretty much, you're watching their 1-2 punch moving forward because there's no reason for the Ducks to go out and buy a backup goaltender in the offseason if Ville Husso is going to play like this.
Well, before you go into the scoring real quick, I have to mention, Dom, I know when you were first reporting that he was going to make the opportunity to get the bench spot because Mrazek was out for a little bit and Dostal, and he was thrown in the net. You're like, yeah, I have confidence in this kid. He's pretty good. Yep. Ducks turn out good goaltenders. That's another one you nailed. That's why you got to follow this show, people. Dom's on it, dude. And this is a goalie that we've talked about, Dom, where when Mrazek had to come in, you're like, every time he's out there.
Yeah, those first 2 games were kind of wild and willy ones, but you kind of bounce back in that sense. I do want to get to a quick thought. I'm going to flip on over here to Catella Chronicles Instagram since we're live feeding this post-game show on all different formats tonight.
Go for it.
We're going to I'm getting a lot of questions about this Friday's trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And what do the Ducks do? We're going to dive into that a little bit deeper as we go along here on the post-game show. But I'm going to say this. I said it after the game against Calgary, and I'll say it again. If the Ducks keep winning, I think they stand pat or make a very, very minor move like a Jeffrey Viel kind of move. Hey, we'll trade you your 4th wing guy for a next year's 2nd-round pick. I don't see the Ducks making a ginormous splash like we may have thought they would, especially because you got Ryan Strome and Frank Vetrano back, even though they both have had rough seasons. It feels like a trade or a free agent signing that you added some pieces back to the puzzle. So what do the Ducks do? They match lines tonight a little bit differently. And I think as of right now, the Ducks will make a very low kind of move / nothing at all. I think they don't want to harm the chemistry of this team right now. The Ducks have so much cap space going into the offseason. And I think they know that they are well above their curve of where they thought they would be this season. So anything at this point is gravy. And essentially going to the playoffs, I don't want to be that person that says we're going to throw a parade down Catella for making the playoffs. Well, after the crap that we've been through over the last 5+ years, I will be one of those people that says hang the banner that says we made the playoffs, because that is a win with this franchise with where we've been over the last 5 years. So quick, short version, me short, height-wise maybe, but my takes could be a little longer. I think the Ducks will stand pat or do something very minor that almost addresses the depth and the latter lines of this team.
I could totally see that happening because just the culture and the camaraderie that's there right now. I don't think you want to break that up. I don't think Verbeek will do that. And then the final thought before we get into the scoring real quick on Husso, bring up any of those comments whenever you can over there off Instagram. But I'm just gonna say real quick though, and if you haven't, follow Catella Chronicles, by the way, on Instagram. That's my boy Dominique right there, as Demetrio called him, Duckstronomus.
Duckstronomus. So I've never heard that one. So thank you, Demetrio. We'll take it as a win, baby.
That's a good one. But Husso, the thing is, I was going to say, with Mrazek, even in the games he looked good, you're like, man, I could see his weaknesses out there.
Yep. And
it's sort of like how Lineman brought up the fact that, his rebound control is excellent. He's been very good. And you just see this kid growing before our eyes. And it's like, okay, Dostal has a night off. Cool. Like you don't even, you shrug it off like I did tonight, like I was like, okay, Husso's in net. Perfect. All right, let's do it.
The Ducks know how to churn out goalies. I don't know what it is, what's in the water. scouting department, they know how to churn out goalies. And Ducks fans, you know what I'm talking about. I could go through the list, but we got to get to the scoring. But the Ducks know how to freaking churn out the goaltenders, and it's amazing.
They did.
The Ducks get a 5-1 win tonight in game number 61 of the season, but per tradition, the opponent scores first. The Islanders get their one and only goal of the ball game as Lee picks up his 15th of the year on the power play. 1-0 Islanders. And this has kind of been a trend for the Ducks this year. Not only does the opponent score first, but it's become more of a trend lately that the opposing team scores within the first 5 minutes of the game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and we've seen it like 2 or 3 times, Dom, where they score in the first shot of the game.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's you get the monkey off your back, and it's almost like a boxer. You take that first punch to the face, and you're like, okay, let's go. We're ready to go. If it works, I don't care. I want a dub at the end of the day.
Yeah, because you know, real quick, when he's scoring a goalie early, usually, you know, they're like, shit, they put their head down and then they take their stick and they hit both sides of the net. They're like, okay, let's go. You
just got to restart and do it again. And hey, whatever works for the Ducks. But the freaking first period, man. I'm sorry. I have so many notes down for this game. So we talked about the back-to-backs, but I'm going to talk about 2 players in particular. These are 2 players outside of Leo Carlson that if you don't already, go get your freaking T-shirts and jerseys of these 2 fellas because they're going to be here for the long haul. Your top 3 in this Ducks organization that are forwards are going to be Carlson, your future captain, Cutter Gauthier, assistant captain, and assistant captain probably in a little while because he's still young and the hair is getting a little bit longer on them balls, is Beckett Seneca. Oh my God, these 2, Gauthier and Seneca, continue to deliver. They don't have an off switch. These guys are on all the time. And Seneca, I've said it once, I've said it again, he is growing before our eyes on all facets of the game. Cutter Gauthier is slick, he's nasty, he's sharp, he's dynamic, gets his 30th goal of the year. Suck on that, NHL. Cutter Gauthier, 30th on the year, on the power play. And he says, screw you, Islanders, back-to-back. He goes for goal number 31. So back-to-back to give the Ducks a 2-1 lead. The horns are blowing at Honda Center. And within 4 minutes, Cutter said, give me the game, and I will take it for everything that it's worth. I cannot say as many good things about Cutter Gauthier as we've seen on the ice.
Talk about a perfect fit, right?
Absolutely. You know, Seneca gets the 31st assist and Kreider his 14th on goal number 1. And then Carlson and Kreider get the primary assist on goal number 2. Again, Cutter Gauthier is a guy that the Ducks picked up for Jamie Drysdale from the Philadelphia Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
We have won this trade, and if anybody says otherwise, I don't. You know, we're gonna put your fandom out to pasture. Is that a nice way to say it? A little bit.
I think you cleaned it up pretty good.
Yeah, like a 2-goal night, 31 on the season. He had 29 goals and 24 assists coming into tonight in 59 games. He's only missed 1 game.
Yeah,
this guy is. I know he's not going to get MVP consideration because, you know, there's other guys that already have 100 points like Nathan McKinnon of Colorado.
Yeah.
But can we talk about Cutter Gauthier as a potential MVP in the Pacific Division? I think so.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Dom, we could have a potential of having 4 guys with 80 or more points. That's freaking awesome.
Yep. And you mentioned 40 or more points. And this matchup, even though it was not on prime time like ESPN or TNT tonight or whatever the combination was, this was a matchup for the second time this year of the top 2 picks in the draft, right? Mm-hmm. You had Matthew Schaefer of the Islanders, a defenseman, and Beckett Seneca of the Ducks. I will be on my perch and soapbox and say Seneca is the rookie of the year. I know Schaefer is talented. And the East Coast bias wants him to win as a number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a very good season. Very good. Nothing to take away from his game. But if you look at the points and you look at how you help a team, I say this in baseball. I say this in football. We talk about it on multiple podcasts. If it's the Angels, if it's our Unfiltered Sports pod for football season, the MVP, or not MVP, but yes, MVP, but let's say Rookie of the Year is like the MVP of the rookies. An MVP type player, you drop them on any other team and they do the exact same thing, right? And they make that team better. To me, as a well-rounded game, Seneca is a little bit ahead of Schaefer, my opinion. And maybe I'm jaded because I'm a Ducks fan. And again, Schaefer is talented. He's dynamic. He's got a lot of room to grow and get even better. But as Demetrio just said, they're comparing Schaefer to Chris Pronger as if he's a Hall of Famer already. The golden ooze is coming out of the mouths of the NHL voters. You already know how this is going, Ducks fans, so don't act surprised when Seneca finishes second, or even better, finishes third or worse.
Well, see, right now he's at what, 51 points? I think he's going to easily hit 75, possibly 80, because there's going to be a lot of multiple point games down the stretch where they're going to need Seneca. So if he reaches 80, dude, I'd be hard pressed to say, okay, we're going to still give it to Schaefer. I mean, at some point, these writers have got to take off their East Coast bias glasses and say, hey, there's hockey in SoCal. You know what I mean? And because this team is loaded with talent. You could have 4 guys with 80 points, or at least 4 guys with 75 points or more. And that's amazing, the transformation. So you mentioned in that first period, I mean, after the 12, almost the 13-minute mark, you have Gauthier in the 16-minute mark, and then Seneca in the 18:40 to close out that period. That could have been game, set, match the way Husso was in goal.
3-1 after trailing 1-0. Unbelievable. And final notes on Cutter Gauthier and Beckett Seneca. Beckett's played at every game this year. Just want to throw that out there. This guy got another goal, 20th of the year, and an assist, 31. 51 points, as you mentioned, this season. 60 points, well within the reach. 70 points, well within that reach. 80, I think you could start making a conversation for it. That would put him at 29 more points.
In 21 games?
You know, you'd have to have a lot of 2 to 3 point games. I'll hedge my bets and say, let's go for 70. If you can get a 70-point season, that's anything right now as a 20-year-old is massive. But final thoughts on Cutter before we get to third period scoring, because Husso locked the door down in the second period to keep it 3-1. Cutter, 6 goals in the last 6 games, points in 11 of his last 13 games. Beckett Seneca, points in 15 of his last 22 games dating back to December the 31st. You can't get any better. And there was time where Carlson was missing at this point. There were times where Troy Terry has been missing a lot.
Oh, yeah.
McTavish is not playing to the level in which we know McTavish can play. So to have those 3 guys in and out of the lineup, and basically these 2 guys anchoring things down perfectly, absolutely amazing. I want to give a shout out on Instagram to our good buddy Mikey of the Mighty Ducks Club. He was at the game tonight, checking on in. Cheers to you, Mikey. Hope you had a great time watching the game.
And by the way, to be part of the Mighty Ducks Club, all you got to do is be a Ducks fan. That's pretty easy.
And follow them on Instagram. That's it.
Yeah. So you got to follow the Mighty Ducks Club, and you got to follow Catella Chronicles to get to all your hockey needs.
So following up after that first period, Ville Husso goes 13 for 13 and saves in the second period. The Islanders outworked the Ducks in the second, 13 shots on goal to 4. Again, are you worried about that back end of a back-to-back kind of hangover a little bit? The second period kind of felt like that. But even though there was 13 shots on goal, I personally didn't feel that the Islanders had many grade A scoring chances. There was good ones, but Husso was that good where you felt confident, where some teams would call it an A scoring chance. I'd call it a B chance because your goalie is playing at such an elite level.
Correct.
So you go from that, and the Ducks just put the sprinkles on the cookies at the end of the day and lock it down with Ryan Poehling. Okay. So I've gotten on my soapbox about Ryan Poehling before, and I'm going to get on the soapbox again because this is another deal, in my opinion, that the Ducks fleeced the Philadelphia Flyers. Let's remember, Trevor Zegras goes bye-bye. We get Failing in return. So essentially, think of it this way. Cutter Gauthier, Ryan Failing in exchange for Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras. Much love to Trevor Zegras. Talent, playing well with the Flyers this year. He didn't fit this system, and I don't think he would fit the system as well with Joel Quenneville. Nothing against him. That's just a system-based situation. The effectiveness of Gauthier and Failing in comparison of Drysdale and Zegras is leaps and bounds, no question. The scrappiness that Failing has on that back third or fourth line is something that is going to be desired late in the season and postseason time. The combination of Failing with Strome and Vetrano tonight was legitimate. It was great.
I agree. I mean, it's easy to see who won that trade. And it's all about who you can get at the right time or making the right pieces fit. And again, I think this is one of those things where management was on par with coaching staff and everybody else and saying, okay, is this dude going to fit? And this is where we would love the Angels to do this is, hey, let's figure out if they fit the mold, if they fit the culture, let's check them out personally. And I think a lot of these guys are just the hardworking blue collared fans or players that fans like. And they can get along with each other. They're grinding out there, they're doing all the right things, and they're following the game plan to a T, and it's paying off, man. I swear to God, you're so right, dude. Failing fits us perfectly.
And I love the comparison from Demetrio, old Ducks lore, Sammy Folson. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The Failing and the Folston, it's just in the name. The PH gets it done perfectly.
That's a good reach right there.
And then the Ducks with the Islanders cranking out their goalie with more than 8 minutes to go. The Ducks with just under 5 minutes to go get Frankie Vetrano, an empty netter, his fourth of the season. Now let's talk about Frankie for a second.
First, we got to blow the horn real quick for both.
Yeah, we got to blow it twice for the third period goal. We got to blow it twice. Get two more into that 5-1 win. Frankie Vetrano, he has been so great for us in the last couple of seasons since he came over from the Rangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Veteran presence, was a team leader in goals a couple of seasons ago, and he's a savvy veteran. He's been through the ringer and back, a fracture in his shoulder. While he's recovering and just getting back on the ice, he has a brother that passes away due to a long outstanding battle with cancer. Talk about a mind fuck, right?
Oh, yeah.
Injury. He was already playing slow to begin the year, not getting off to the scoring trend that he wanted. Gets hurt. That sucks. Starts rehabbing, and a family member passes away. So mentally, you're saying, what is it all for at this point? And the Ducks have kept with him, rallied around him, got him back into the lineup for the first time tonight, and he gets rewarded with an empty net goal. Some people say, oh, it's an empty net goal. It doesn't really mean much. Yes, I say that a lot, especially when the Ducks, lose. And I say, well, that empty netter didn't count. Well, in this case scenario, it definitely freaking counted because I think that's just a morale situation for Vetrano to be back on the ice with your team. After everything you've been through, you find a way to get the job done.
Absolutely. So that ended up the scoring right there. You got a hard-earned goal right there by Frankie to make it 5-1. Let's get into Catella Chronicles' own 714 tickets sponsored.
Ooh.
3 stars of the game. And first, we're going to talk about 714. 714 tickets is the place to go if you want 10% off by mentioning HITI and the Apply Now code. You get that 10% off of those ticket prices. And the best is yet to come because why? There's no taxes. There's no service fees. So the price you see is the price you get. So that's what will always be friends with 714 tickets. 714 tickets. So go to 714 tickets to get your next ticket priced at the best price first off, and then you get the best seat courtesy of us and 714 tickets. So first off, let's see that graphic talking about them 3 stars. Dom, take it away. Let's hear your 3 stars of tonight's 5-1 victory over the Islanders.
Absolutely. And just food for thought as always. I got my tickets for Sunday's game against the St. Louis Blues from 714 Tickets.
You don't say.
You don't say. You get a little money off. You get some put back in your rewards account. Oh,
And you
it
can
feels
pick up
good.
you can pick up a free ticket with all those purchases, right?
All I know is that on my account right now, I have about almost $30 worth of savings in my account right now.
That's awesome.
I may be saving that for the $5 Angel tickets this season. You never know.
You know what? You can probably get you a dozen at that price, but
hey, at that point, I could go to a whole homestand for $30. Let's go.
no, Dom's just gonna take up a row by himself. He's like, no one's sitting here.
Yeah. We're back to the COVID rules all over again.
6 feet either way.
Yeah, 6 feet up, 6 feet back. Don't get near me. 3 stars of the game. No brainers tonight. A lot of choices to be had. Even if certain Ducks did not get on the scoring page tonight, a lot of good work from top to bottom. I want to give some love to some guys that aren't going to make the top 3 tonight. But guys like Jeffrey VL, Tim Washy, Ryan Johnston, those scrappy guys that are doing the dirty work that leads to bigger and better things for the Goches and the Carlsons and the Terrys and the Senecas and the McTavishes, all those guys, we're going to give them some love. They played really, really great this year. Number 3 star of the game tonight. I think overall, when you look at this guy's game, and it's very silky smooth, and why wouldn't it be when you should be the freaking rookie of the year? Beckett Seneca, your 3rd star of the game, a goal and an assist. This kid continues to go nuts. He had 3 shots on goal. He's effective offensively. He's playing stronger on defense. I saw in the game against Colorado the other night. I was watching the game on my phone on a team bus. Again, I broadcast high school baseball. We were out in LA, so dealing with traffic. I was watching the game on my phone. And what I noticed in that first period of the game against Colorado was his defense. He was back checking, forechecking, and he took some hard licks. He was the one giving the hard licks against Colorado. So that's the element of his game that I'm really enjoying over the last, I would say, month, because we know the offense is always going to be there for this guy, right? So Beckett Seneca, 1 goal, 1 assist, a 2-point night, over 50 points now on the season. This kid continues to get better and better. We joke about it. The hair wasn't quite growing on the balls yet early on in this year. But like Todd and I, our facial hair game is always on point. The hair on Seneca's balls is kind of getting that way. It's getting better and better as the season goes along. Number 2 star of the game. Speaking of a 2-point night, when you score 2 goals back to back and slap the face of the opposing team, Cutter Goche gets your number 2 star of the game. You think the snipe shot that he possesses, why isn't he the 1 star every single night of the week? Well, when a guy that hasn't played between the pipes in over a month has a 42 save performance, 977. How about them apples? Villa Huso, our new number 2 netminder, is getting the job done. We know Lukasz Dostal has been red hot. In last night's game against Colorado, I am not going to blame him, right? I'm not going to fully blame him on what is going on. You know, Colorado's just that dynamic of a team.
Oh, yeah.
However, it needs to be said that this guy cannot do it all, and you need that backup goalkeeper. And to have a goalie like Villahuso, whose name wasn't really talked about early on in the season until Peter Mrazek got hurt. His first big game was that shootout winner against the Kings on Black Friday, and he's been lights out ever since. He made 29 even strength saves, 10 power play saves, and 3 shorthanded saves tonight. A terrific breakdown on a 42 save performance for your number 1 star of the game, Villa Huso.
Hell yeah. Great performance by him tonight. You know, as we're talking 3 stars, we have to play, well, the hoser of the night. Who gets that award? Let's find out.
Well, you know, I always like to get a little petty here, right? When the hoser of the night always goes to the losing team, right? That's no doubt about it. And in a 5-1 loss Tonight, it's going to go to a New York Islander. And we've talked about Beckett Seneca. And who have I compared him to, or the league compares him to? Matthew Schaefer. I gave Matthew Schaefer his props. Talented player, very good. Probably is going to win the Rookie of the Year because of that East Coast bias. 20 goals, 24 assists, 44 points this season. Beckett Seneca has almost 10 more than that. Just want to put that out there. But when you have no goals, no assists, 5 shots on goal, and a -2 on the ice in 24 minutes and 13 seconds of ice time, a rookie for the New York Islanders is leading you in ice time. Props to you. But when you're a -2 on the ice and Beckett Seneca outplays you, when you're both on the ice together, both going for the Rookie of the Year, see you later, Matthew Schaefer. You are the hoser of the night.
I love it, dude. I love it. And quick note, as we've gone through your 3 stars, you got the hoser of the night. Let's just say after you mentioned that 9-game losing streak that the Ducks had, including what is it? They only won 2 out of their 13. Actually, they were 2-13 at one point
Yep.
in that 13-game streak right there. The
Yep.
Ducks have now gone 13-3 since.
Yep.
And that's why they are right there, 1 point out of first place. So, Dom, let's now view what's on the horizon, shall we? Let's look at the schedule as
Absolutely.
we have 2 more games at home. Who are they against?
You got Friday, 6 o'clock against the Montreal Canadiens. Now, let's remember, fans, trade deadline. Friday, I believe it's 3 o'clock Eastern or 4 o'clock Eastern. I think it's before the game starts. 3 o'clock Eastern, yeah. 12 Pacific time. So Friday, I'm going to say for sure tomorrow and Friday morning, have your phone, have your X account, Instagram, whatever you do to get your NHL news, have the alerts on high to see what's going on, not just for the Ducks, but what's going on around the NHL. Because if you look at the standings right now, and let's focus in on the Pacific Division first. Vegas first place, 72 points. Ducks in second, 71 points. Edmonton in third, 68 points. Kraken in fourth, 67 points. So they're still sniffing around. San Jose in fifth with 64. Kings in sixth. Kings, even though they got Panarin from the Rangers, they just fired their coach a couple of days ago. So hot waters for the Kings. They're at 62 points. And then Calgary in seventh at 55 points and Vancouver in last at 43. It would make sense if Vegas, Anaheim, Edmonton, Seattle, and San Jose make a move. Kings, I feel, already made their move, and they're going to deal with what they have at this point. To me, out of those 5 teams I mentioned from our division, who would be the most desperate without looking at payroll and salary and all those things? If I'm any one of these other teams outside of the Ducks, if I'm the Seattle Kraken, I would be doing something at the trade deadline. You are 5 points out of first place, 1 point out of a playoff spot in the division. To me, Kraken need to go out and do something. San Jose, still a little bit younger. They're like the Ducks ahead of the curve, so we'll kind of see where they're at. Edmonton's payroll is thrashed. They don't really have much wiggle room at all. Vegas, they have Mitch Marner on a big contract. I don't know how much money they have left to be played. So we'll see how it goes down. But I still believe trade deadline-wise, the Ducks either stand pat or make a very small change because I don't think they want to mess up the chemistry on this team right now. And your boy Terry hasn't been playing lately. That could feel like an addition when he comes back.
Yeah, he's scary. Terry's been out for a while. So those are good points. And plus, you got to throw in the factor that there's been a couple teams like the Kings fall out of it recently, but for the most part, there's still an awful lot of teams still in the hunt, still believe they could win, and they'll either stand pat or they won't be too open with letting guys go or trading. And then if you do find a trade partner with one of those teams, they're going to be asking for a lot. Even unless they're a bottom basement dweller like Vancouver or Calgary, a lot of these teams that are mid or thinking it's not over till it's over, maybe 8-9 points out of a final spot, they may be asking for a lot more than what they should be because there's so many teams that will be asking because there's so many teams competing. It's not like other sports where baseball's got a quarter of their teams competing and the rest are just dangling by a thread or out of it. There's a lot to choose from in baseball, not so much in hockey.
if you look at the last wild card place that is in the Western Conference, it's taken by the Kraken at this point at 67 points. San Jose's 3 back, Kings 5 back, Predators 5 back. Winnipeg, who the Ducks just saw a couple games ago, I should say, they're at 58 points. They are 9 points out. That equates to 4.5 games. You could make a case that they could be buyers at this deadline because, hey, you go on a little streak, win 4 in a row, you're right back in this thing. So to me, Chicago, Calgary, St. Louis, Vancouver are probably your 4 in the Western Conference that are probably going to sit this one out. And on the Eastern side of things, Boston's at 73 points. And you have teams like the New Jersey Devils or the 2-time champion Florida Panthers, who are second worst. Perspective. Second worst in the East at 63 points. They're only 10 points out of a wild card spot, which equates to 5 games. They could go by and be right back in it. So we'll see how this trade deadline goes overall. So keep your due diligence on that. So the Ducks have a game on Friday against the Montreal Canadiens, who, again, we don't see them that often. It'll be the first time the Ducks see them all season long. They are 60 games into their season, 33, 18, and 9, good for 75 points. So a very well-matched game on Friday. Sunday, to wrap up the homestand, it'll be the St. Louis Blues, who are the second worst team in the Western Conference, 55 points. That is a trap game. Ducks do not need to overlook St. Louis. Play them as hard as you do against Montreal. And I think especially because they're at Honda Center, galvanized by the fan base, that's another sellout again for Anaheim. That's going to be a really good game on Sunday, and they better freaking win with me in attendance.
There you go. And this is our first time playing St. Louis this year, so that's going to be pretty interesting. And then real quick before we get into our final thoughts and everything, the Ducks then go on a 4-game Tim Hortons tour of Canada.
Yep.
They'll be getting all the maple syrup they can stomach right there, and there's a lot of A's going on. They got Winnipeg on the 10th, the 12th, Toronto, the 14th, Ottawa, and the 15th, Montreal. The things before I throw it over to you on your thoughts on the Canada tour is real quick with what is it called? The Mighty Ducks Club. We will be at a couple of those events. If you want to check their page, we'll also put up the banner starting next week again to remind people that the 10th, 12th, and 15th are watch parties at different establishments. The first one is not kid-friendly. The last 2 are kid-friendly, and then we'll have all the other stuff right there, drinks and food and giveaways, all due to Mikey and Cody over there at the Mighty Ducks Club. So, Dominic, thoughts on what they can do in these next 6 games?
You know, I think the world is their oyster at this point. They've proven that with winning 6 of their last 7 games. I think that's awesome within itself. And they're playing at a high competitive level. Their only loss right now is Colorado, who's at 91 points and the best team in the NHL. And, you know, the next 6 games, I would say, are against good competition. Montreal twice in the next week and a half is the most competitive team based on points. Toronto is at 65 points, Ottawa at 67 points, and Winnipeg, the Ducks just saw, they're at 58 points. So when you kind of look at that all encapsulated together, there should be absolutely no reason why the Ducks can't win a minimum of 4 of the next 6 games, right? Get 8 of the next 12 points. And the Ducks really, after Sunday's game, only have 1 game at home or 2 games at home over the next 3 weeks. They'll be in Canada for 4, a quick home game against Philadelphia on the 18th, then a quick road trip to Utah, quickly back at home against Buffalo, and then back to the maple syrup tour. This time it's on the west side of Canada, Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. Oh, look, division. So no divisional games the rest of this month until you get to that 3-game Canadian road trip starting on the 24th. So it's kind of back to how the Ducks started off the season in October and November. Unfamiliar faces, out of division games, and some teams you haven't even seen yet this season. So right then and there, you go back at it. And again, bare minimum, win 4 of 6. Let's see. The Ducks are now at 71 points this season, 9 points away from 80. I think if the Ducks take care of business, who knows? When they come back to Honda Center on March 18th against Philly, they might already have 80 points to their credit.
I'll go on a limb here. So I think you're gonna go with it, them getting 80 points by the time they come back here to home. If they do get those 80 points, Dom, I can almost guarantee they're gonna be in first place. That's just my opinion. I think they're gonna be in first place.
That would be, that would be the goal at the end of the day. What I'll do is let me casually just look if I can, and check in on the Vegas Golden Knights schedule, because that is kind of something that the Ducks, you never want to play scoreboard hopping, right? That's one thing you never want to do and,
Yeah.
and play ahead. But if you look at Las Vegas in this sense, and over their next couple of weeks, they're kind of the opposite of the Ducks. They have a lot of home games coming up. So they get Minnesota, who's one of the top teams in the Western Conference, at home on Friday. They play Edmonton on Sunday. So that's going to be a game that the Ducks are going to want to watch for. Then they go to Dallas, a competitive team. Then they'll have a 4-game homestand against out-of-division teams: Pittsburgh, Chicago, Buffalo, Utah. To me, in comparison to the Ducks' upcoming schedule the next 2 weeks and Vegas, the Ducks have the little bit softer schedule in terms of opponents' points. Minnesota's in playoff contention. Edmonton's in playoff contention. Dallas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Utah. Every team but one that Vegas is going to see between Friday and March 19th are all in the playoff picture. So Ducks have an opportunity right now to get back. So if they can get to 80 points and Vegas somehow goes on a little bit of a skid, the Ducks could be right where they want them at this point. But of course, trade deadline, and who knows, Vegas could make a move before Friday.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to surprise when it comes to the deadline. Some may overpay, some may get a gift. Who knows? But that's our wrap up here for tonight. As the Ducks win 5-1. As you said earlier, they turned the tide after losing 5-1 to the Avalanche. But again, like you said, man, you can't feel too bad about that one. You went toe to toe with them in Colorado, got the victory up there. We'll see. We'll likely see them again here not down the stretch, but possibly in the postseason. And we'll see what happens then, what cracks between us and Colorado. But either way, nice homestand. Let's close it out with two good, hopefully wins against Montreal and St. Louis. But Dom, final thoughts on this one?
I think the Ducks, a great win tonight, massive win. They bounce back after last night's 5-1 loss. You pick up a 5-1 win tonight. So the scoring goes right back to the way it has been over the last couple of games. I think something to look out for, if there's anything for the Ducks, how does head coach Joe Quenneville, after a performance from Ville Husso tonight, as good as it was, or as great as it was, I should say, how does he balance out Husso and Dostal? Because the Ducks do not have any more back-to-back games until April the 3rd and 4th, which is a home-and-home against St. Louis and Calgary. So every other game at this point appears to be like every other day the Ducks have a game. So it's really going to be a matchup-based situation. You don't want to get Dostal cold. So I'm going to assume Dostal's back in net on Friday against Montreal. What does he do Sunday? If his performance is so-so, does he go back to Husso? Who starts off? Winnipeg saw Dostal when they were here at Honda Center. Does Quenneville play the chess match and put Husso in the first game of the Canadian road trip? It really won't matter if both goalies are playing A-plus style of play in between the pipes. It's something to look out for the Ducks. But go out. We'll see what the Ducks do in the next 24 to 36 hours for the trade deadline. Do they go big? Do they go small, or nothing at all? And then wrap up this homestand on the best page against Montreal and St. Louis. I'll be at the game on Sunday and looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. And if anything does break, you'll see it first on Catella Chronicles and Halos in the Infield. Or if it's big enough, we'll do a video and just jump in and give you a quick synopsis, first kind of reaction of what we think of the trade. So stay tuned for that. Look out for us to break the news, because they don't have the TV coverage or the app to do it right now on Victory Plus. But for Todd Fox and Dominique Lorenz from Catella Chronicles, like and subscribe to his page. Either one of us or both of us will be there for the next two games. So hopefully the schedule is aligned, my friend.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen. But we thank you guys for tuning on in once again to another Halos in the Infield Anaheim Ducks post-game podcast show for the fans, by the fans. Want to give a shout out to our producer of the Stars, Randy Yaz, for everything that he puts together not just for Ducks, but for the Angels as well. And if you are a hockey fan that loves the baseball side of things, we do Angels. But for the next 2 weeks, it's going to be doubling down not only on the Angels, but Team USA Baseball and all the teams for the World Baseball Classic that started tonight. So you got hockey and a double dose of baseball over the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be a fun time here on the network.
Absolutely. You guys and gals have a good rest of your night.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Anaheim Ducks win. And remember, Ducks fans, to check out the Ducks post-game show on the Halos in the Infield Network with Todd and Don. Drive home safely, and we'll see you.